All right, here we go with geology and geology again. We're a little bit late today because we move from very early in the morning to 5 p.m. So hello commuters, hello entire country, because we reach California right now, and when we were on the air on Friday morning, those guys on the beach were still sleeping. So this is mini geology program, and welcome to all the listeners from all over the world. And we have listeners potentially also out there in the International Space Center, where the powerful radio waves of KPFT are reaching around the planet. All right, so here we go. Today we have three students from Rice University. They are going to be here with us, and they're going to talk about their projects, their dreams, nightmares, and all of the above. So this is a mini geology program. You can call us live at 713-526-8737. Again, 713-526-8737. And if you are outside of this big country, you have to put a +1 in front of it to call United States of America. This is Daniel Minizzini, your crazy inquisitive geologist, and if you want to write to the program, write to minigeology@gmail.com. So here we are with Elena, Sriparna, and Michael. Hello to everybody.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello, everyone.
How you doing?
Okay, check your mic, please. Mike, check the mic. Michael, try.
Yeah. Check.
All right. Oh, man, such a hot voice. All right. So here we are. All right. So let's see. What is the main reason that you wanted to come in here to the radio? Because you write me that you want to be here. And by the way, I encourage everybody, all of you students and non-students, that you want to participate to the radio. This is a radio that welcomes you to talk about your problems, ideas, and profession. So again, come here, knock at the door, 419 Lovett Boulevard in beautiful Montrose area in Houston, Texas. And Elaine, tell us something, Elena, about this main reason to be here in the radio.
Hey, so I'm part of a group at Rice that is working on outreach and communicating science to the local Houston community. And so coming here to this radio show is a great opportunity for us to further that goal. And that is why I'm here.
That's very good. And Sriparna, do you want to add anything to this?
I also think that the radio is a very good platform to reach out to people, and since we are all interested in outreach and communicating science to the public, so I think it's when this opportunity came up, we gladly wanted to be a part of it. Yeah. So
you three are PhD students at Rice University.
Yes.
Do you want to describe very shortly what are you doing for your studies?
Yes, of course. So right now, I am in my third year of my PhD program. And I work on, so the Earth has a few different layers to it, just for everyone listening. It has the crust that we're standing on, it has the mantle below it, and then it has the core at the center. And the mantle actually flows over long periods of time. And that flow affects how the top crust that we're standing on moves. And so what I do is I run numerical computer models to figure out how and why the mantle flows.
What about you, Sriparna?
So I'm a fourth-year PhD student, and I study continents, and there are parts of the continents called cratons which have not been affected by any tectonic activities. And what I do is try to understand some of the geophysical signatures of them by running high pressure temperature experiments in the lab, and trying to understand the Earth and its structure better.
Michael?
Hi, I'm a first-year PhD student.
I haven't really started much research yet. I'm still kind of getting into the groove of things, taking classes, but essentially what I'm going to be working on is trying to understand how the interior of the planet changes through time. And so since we can't actually go and observe directly the interior of the planet, I'm in a group that runs high temperature and pressure experiments on certain geological materials, and under those conditions we can indirectly say something about how the interior of the planet has evolved through time. So how certain elements go into melt, when certain parts of rock melt, how the Earth has differentiated through time. So we're essentially tracking how the atoms move through Earth's history by indirectly simulating those conditions in a lab.
So, well, it seems that you have like the content of your studies in common, but also another thing in common, which is this will and passion that you have for communication and outreach, right? Mm-hmm. So, do you want to explain about this outreach program that you have? How does it work? When did it start?
Of course. So a group of like-minded students who are the three of us here and a few others at Rice decided to get together and create this outreach program. We submitted funding for Rice, and we actually got our funding. And
so this is something that it came out from yourself. It is not pushed by any professors or led by any professors. Is it mainly done and run by students?
That is correct. It is completely run by graduate students in the Earth, Environmental, and Planetary Sciences Department at Rice.
And you are three of those?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
we are three of those.
How many students are involved in this outreach program, roughly?
There are 4 or 5 students involved in this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Hopefully more with time.
Like the active, part of the organizers, we are like a group of 6 students, I would say. But then we also have a group of volunteers who are not actively involved, but then depending on activities at hand, they become a part of the outreach program.
Okay.
That's what the plan is.
So you were bold and courageous enough to request to write a proposal, to request get for some grants, and to obtain it.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so now what is your goal for this outreach program?
I think the long-term goal is to make the outreach program successful, as in we want to go to more schools and educate the kids about geology. The main interest is to develop urge in them to study geology when they grow up. And I think all of us at some level we like teaching, so we want to be out there and teach the students about like the various interesting things that are going on in the earth. So, yeah.
So, and you're talking about students that they are in K-12, or which age?
Yes, our goal is to reach out to K through 12 students and teach them about geology and show them someone who is going for a PhD in this subject, and make it more attainable to the younger people.
So, for instance, the school districts, not only in this city but in many other cities, it's pretty complex, and I see there are several bureaucracies in there. How do you plan to take part to the classes? How could you enter a school and teach a class about geology, or pushing the students to study geology?
I think so Rice University has this R-STEM program, and we are trying to reach out through them. So we are trying to make use of the resources that they have, and we are also using our contacts, but I think going through them is much more easier to attain, the access to be able to teach classes.
Okay, so you mean that Rice University has already some means to start a conversation with the schools, and you're going to take advantage of it?
Yes.
Yes.
I see.
We're also using this to kind of springboard a group of people for many years to come in the future, because getting the public interested in science is very important for the future as we live in a science-based economy. How people got to understand how technology works, how technology affects our lives, how energy affects our lives, and essentially to make a more informed, I guess, voter populace. It's inevitable that people need to be scientifically informed, so we're using this as an opportunity, as a springboard to start something much bigger than what it is now. We're just kind of in the earlier stages of this outreach program.
So I know that we had in here the executive director of the American Geosciences Institute, an umbrella of 52 other associations and almost 250,000 geoscientists. And I bet there are many outreach programs. So is there any outreach program that you are looking at that is inspiring you? And are you sure that you're bringing on the table something new that can help in a different way?
There is another group at Rice University in the ecology.
Yes.
What was it?
The evolutionary and ecology and evolutionary biology, I think.
Thank you. And they already have established a going to K through 12 schools and teaching for a day kind of setup. So we've been mostly in communication with them and jumping on their contacts and setting up our own geology-oriented version of their classes.
I see. And if we go more into the structure of the program, the outreach program, which, by the way, you told me that there's an acronym that is IPS-RICH,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
What does it mean, the acronym?
So the acronym is EEPS. It's an acronym for our department name, which is long, Earth, Environmental, and Planetary Science.
Okay, so in this IPS-RICH, you, I think that you're going to try to use the context that you have, but you also are going to need a structure
Yes.
on how to proceed, how to begin, how to engage the students, what you would like to have as a final outcome of this. Can you talk about that?
I think, so as I mentioned earlier, that we have a core group of people involved in designing the outreach program who wrote the proposal. And so we meet like once a week, every Friday, and discuss on our plans. So we also plan to develop a module. So by the end of this semester, our goal is to come up with some hands-on activities which can be just used, like even if we are not a part of the program, like once we graduate, it can be used as a go-to model to carry on the program forward. So that's something which we all plan to do like through the semester.
Right. And so we have our core people who submitted the proposal, but we also have reached out to the rest of our department, and we have a few volunteers, and so we're organizing them in 3 different categories. There are volunteers who come up with the lab and hands-on activity and ways to edit it so that the kindergartner is not getting the same lab activity that the 12th grader is getting. And but they're similar enough that a group can go in and teach it.
So it's tailor-made according to the needs of the audience that we are trying to target.
Yes. And we have another group that is actually, so we have a brainstorming group, we have a construction group, and then we have a separate group that will actually go to the schools and teach. So we can, the students in our program can identify their own skill set and what they want to work on and help us out.
I see. So, and do you want a pitch? Are you looking for more volunteers? Maybe somebody listening can join you.
Yeah, sure. I mean, like, the more the number of volunteers is always great. Like, it brings in newer ideas and more workforce, to build a better plan. So, like, we would want the entire department to be involved. But then, we are not doing bad. Like, I think last week we had a lot of people sign up, so that's a good sign. And given that it's just starting, we really hope to, as more people know about it, I'm sure that they would really want to be a part of it. So that's what we are hoping for.
So talking about reaching out, how do they reach out to you? How do they get in touch with you? Through an email or a website?
So it's mostly through email right now. We haven't worked on the website part yet, but that would be an ultimate goal. Right now everyone signs up on either a Google Doc or they email me.
And do you want to share your email if anybody listening wants to join you or ask you anything?
Yes, if anyone listening wants to submit an idea, wants us to come to their school, has a school in mind, whatever, you can email me at ags7@rice.edu.
Can you repeat it once again?
ags7@rice.edu.
All right, so egs7@rice.edu, and if for any reason you want to write to minigeology@gmail.com, I will forward that to Elena. And more things. So you are, Elena, one of the leaders of this outreach program, right?
Yes.
Yes. So what are the plans that you have for the long-term future after you finish the semester?
Right. Just starting with this semester, the goal is to get one lab down that we have down pat that we can go to schools and teach. But for the future goals, we would like to have more than one lab so that the school can say, oh, we want a coastal erosion lab this day, we want a volcanoes lab that day. And so the school gets a little bit of choice as well. And in the future, hopefully, I'll be able to take my hands off, and it will be the department itself will run the program, and I won't have to baby it to keep it going.
All right. Okay. So, and this, you think, is going to require some years?
I think it will require some years.
Yeah, trial and error. But I think the first type of activities we'd like to share with the students around Houston are activities that are directly impact the city of Houston. So types of geology that you would see along the coast, how waves affect the coast, and how hurricanes and weather affect everyday life and infrastructure. So we're probably going to start with something pretty close to home because it's probably the most important topics to touch on in the current environment. But hopefully with time we can start to expand and have ideas and come up with ideas for different types of labs that extend across multiple disciplines within geoscience.
So right now we keep it small and local to Houston. So you're trying to reach out schools that are in the Houston school district?
Yes.
Yes.
Is that correct? Yeah. And then eventually you could move outside Houston? Or you would remain here in the city?
It's hard to
So
It's a hard question. Since we are just starting, right now our goal, I think, is to get more and more involved with the Houston area, because there's a lot of issues. We got funded this semester, but there's a lot of factors that need to be taken into account as well. So it might depend, if we get the proper channel and the funding, why not? We could probably try and reach out. I mean, the bigger the better.
But we do plan on setting up a website and getting our successful lesson plans after we've gone through trial and error with the students, and we'll post them online so that anyone in places nearby or places across the country or across the world want to do the lab that we did, they can look it up, download the instructions and materials list, and do it themselves.
What are the challenges that you face right now in these very first days of this baby that is your project?
Well, I think the biggest challenge so far is none of us have done anything like this yet. So this project is still in its infancy. So we honestly don't really know what to expect or have much experience in this realm of communication. So the biggest challenge is just kind of trying to foresee where we're going to take this and what this program will eventually evolve into.
But is this a situation that you want to create on purpose? Like you want to be by yourself and you are all students and so you don't have old folks that are telling you what to do? Or you would really like to have an experienced senior person that comes to your group and join forces and helping you with his previous experience?
Well, reaching out for people with more experience is always great, and we're doing that. But there's only so much that being told what to do can help you out. You'll go to a classroom and you'll stumble over some words, or you'll think that it was a great activity and the kids are bored, and that's a trial and error that we need to experience.
I think the main challenge is trying to figure out the rights and wrongs of even we are designing the modules or the lab activities, like how successful it's going to be, that would depend on the reaction we get from after actually teaching the labs. So I think that's something which will come only with experience, and yeah.
So Sriparna, in all of the aspects that we have in this project, what is the one that is closer to your heart, that you're really passionate about?
I think I really like science, and so one of the things that has motivated me to reach out to the public is to communicate, to tell people. I'm very fond of writing, so as I think it has given me a lot of confidence to talk to more people, tell them about the kind of science we are doing, because we might be running experiments in the lab, but then why would a fourth grader even care about it? So the main drive is to make them care and to make them aware of what's going on. So yeah.
Where does this passion about writing comes from?
I think I've always loved writing, and it's one of the ways I think I can express myself better. So it's like I can reach out to a lot of people through just writing. So I think that's one of the reasons I would really want to explore science communication or writing or just even outreach for that purpose.
Michael, what about you? What is that really engage you in this project?
Well, actually, science communication turns out to be the reason why I'm in science at all. Growing up, watching, Cosmos by Carl Sagan. It's a little bit before my time, but I still watched it as a kid. And just reading pop sci books, and I remember just being so in awe and just fascinated, and it's just a feeling that, just knowing something about the reality of the world and nature just is so exciting. And if we can just make one kid that wouldn't normally get to experience that raw excitement of figuring something out and discovering something, if we could just make one kid feel that wouldn't otherwise feel that, then I would consider it a success, because it is thrilling. Science is so thrilling. New discoveries are made every day, and it's everyone's debating what they think is true, and the way the scientific method is, the best thing will ultimately win out at the other day. And it's always evolving, and it's always changing. There's no end goal, and to me, that is the best story ever written.
Elena, what about you?
So I actually absolutely love teaching. I love friends in the same class that don't understand a topic that I understand. I love telling them how I understand it and finding different approaches to help them understand this topic, whatever it may be. And
how did you come up with the idea of this proposal?
Actually, another student at Rice, Laura Carter, brought it up. She found that Rice has this grad starter program, and she brought it up to me because she's on her way out. She's graduating this semester and doesn't really have the time to dedicate to this. And she knew that I was like-minded and also interested in communication and teaching to local schools. We had discussed this before. And so she brought it to me and said, hey, write it up, submit it to her, or submit it to this grad starter proposal.
I see you mentioned now, Laura, that she was here
Yes,
a couple of months ago. And she is putting together also a science communication class.
Yes.
if I'm not wrong, right?
Yes.
Yep.
So, what is the relationship between the science communication class that you have at Rice, that to my understanding is something new, and the super new Ipswich about outreach program?
Right. So they are actually separate entities, but they do support each other.
So, I mean, like Elena said, they are two separate things, but a lot of the same people that are involved in Ipswich are also trying to hone their skills in the science communication class, which is done through Rice. And the science communication class has a great turnout. We actually just met today, and there's probably like at least 20 people in there. So it was like it seems like a lot of people are interested in this, and so that's going to make the department involvement into the Ipswich, even greater. And so the point of the course is to have speakers come in, like one of the faculty members at Rice, Lauren Seung, came today and talked about his past experience with communication and what he thinks are effective ways to communicate science, and from things that he's learned in the past from certain like trial and error and stuff like that. And he showed us certain videos online. He showed us interviews that worked, interviews that don't. So it's really just trying to understand the psychology of talking to people that might have different viewpoints of you, and see which methods are most effective in getting a point across, scientific point across specifically. Yeah.
So, by the way, so you had a class today, right? So how did you communicate with your class that you were going to be here? What did you do to allow other people to listen to you right now?
So Laura Carter actually is one of the instructors for that class, the one who gave me the grad starter proposal information. And she started off the class saying, hey, there's a radio show tonight, here's the website, here's the
Frequency.
and listen in.
Is that enough to engage you students? Because you could be one of those listening in the class, right? So that's just that right now you're on the other side. But is that enough? Somebody tells you, hey, listen to this and this is the link. Is that enough?
I think in addition to that, she also mentioned that 3 of our students, people here, would be a part of it. So I think that can pique the interest of the people to some extent, because even though the radio is kind of accessible to people, but until and unless you see people whom you mingle with in everyday life being a part of it, you don't really get involved. So even last time Laura and Michael were here, it was after then that a lot of people from our department started listening into the radio show.
Okay, but now let me know how you are engaged about other things. So we don't talk about ourselves now. We don't talk about mini geology. We don't talk about the Ipswich. So what happened when somebody tells you that when you accept the information, when you accept to see something new, when you click on a link, when you are moved a little bit more than about the average, what does it happen to you? What is that thing that makes you react and be active, if not proactive?
I think the tagline could be an important, it has to be some visual, it might be visually stimulating or an interesting tagline, which at times gets us interested.
I typically look for content. If a friend recommends it to me, I won't just go if they give me a name and say, here's the website. If they give me a name and they say, oh, well, they highlight this topic and they had this interesting talk this one time, and I agree that it was interesting, then I will go and look into it.
So what is more important? Is the content or is the format?
I prefer content over format.
I guess it depends on who you're talking to. I'm sure there's some marketers out there that are well-versed in psychology of large populations that might say otherwise, but I'm into the content.
Well, that is something interesting, right? Because we are saturated with very good information and very good topics related to science. You can die reading about interesting things. Now, the format is that kind of catchy thing that opens the door to an interesting topic.
I think so. There's also, in addition to the science communication course that our department is offering, there's also a natural science communication course at Rice. So we had a class yesterday, and they kind of mentioned that in the present scenario, the attention span of people is so less that they want to give in like the punchline before. So it's one of the things that they have developed by data analysis and studying how people respond to a particular kind of content. So yes, content is definitely important, but then I think the way it's being communicated, it also has like an important role to play.
Is that true also for you, that you need the punchline to continue listening or to start listening?
I think to some extent, yes. Like I read a lot, so sometimes there would be at least some part of the content that might intrigue me into reading it. So I definitely think, yes, it's important for me to get me involved to go through the content.
I like about the sentence you say about reading, because there's a book titled How to Read a Book, which is written in the 40s, now written in the 70s. And it should be rewritten again and again, because we read always in different ways. But the main point is that nobody really teaches us how to read after we are 6 or 7 or 8 years old. And there are many levels of reading, which is not just the analytical thing about understanding what a word says, but many others, what the author wants to say. And also one of the most important things, reading together different books at the same time about the same topic to try to create your own idea, reading different points of view. And so I think that this kind of topics should be taught a little bit more in the high school, because that is where we are forming, but above all also university. So kudos to all of you that you are trying to do this, and I really encourage you to go also into this kind of details to try to teach the people how to read. It's going to be difficult to go back in a counterspin on our culture where we're used to tweet and talk in very short sentences and reading only the title of the content. But understanding and learning how to read at different levels is very important.
I think I'm going to segue back into some science communication things that's also ties into what you were just talking about. So today we live in a time where we have so much information. We've never had this much information. If you were to tell people 30 years ago that you'd have this device in your pocket that you can look up anything, they probably wouldn't believe you. And with that, just like any technology, can be used for good or bad. A way to be able to take in a lot of content and to analyze it and think critically about it ties a lot into the scientific method. So communicating science not only gets across important ideas, but it gets people enthusiastic into science, and then if they go into science, they will gain skills of how to be skeptical and how to critically analyze information that is that's coming at them. And so I think it's incredibly important to not only teach people information, but teach people how to think and how to analyze information. And the internet's only going to get more crazy, so we need to start with the younger generations and teaching them how to think critically about information that's thrown their way. So I think this is the perfect time to kind of start this scientific outreach thing, and not even just science, just getting people to think critically about things in general. Yeah.
I see. There's a specific discipline in our beloved geoscience that studies education. So that's also another field to explore for your project. there are many professionals in the geoscience that they try to understand how we think, geoscientists, like kind of saying that we are the very few that we have the three-dimensional, if not four-dimensional understanding in our mind, that we have, we're one of the few professional figures that we have the understanding of time and deep time together maybe with the astronomers. And that we have this naturalistic intelligence about being in finding the directions in whatever we are in nature, understanding maps, understanding where's the north, understanding distances. So these professionals, they try not only to figure out how we think, but also how to communicate with the others, how different we are.
I will say, the concept of deep time has probably, it probably causes at least one existential crisis in my life a day, but in the most amazing way possible.
Okay, Michael, talk about your existential crisis. Really, really interested in your existential crisis.
Just looking at a rock and just thinking of how long it's been there and how much time it took to form and bring to the surface, and how I was essentially born yesterday, literally. It's just, I don't know. I literally can't put it into words, because we think, historically we think back in antiquity was like 5,000 years ago, maybe written history maybe 6,000 years ago, and we that's such a vast time, and there's so many people live throughout there. And then you kind of go up to the next one, like, glacial cycles are about 20 to 40,000 years, and it's like, oh wow, that's a lot of time. I wonder what happened. And then you realize the Great Lakes are only about 20,000 years old, and then you think, I wonder how many Great Lakes have existed throughout the Earth just in the last million years. And then you start learning about the billion-year time scale, and think of how many little bits of million years are within that billion years, and how many things have happened. And yeah, I'm having one right now.
Yeah. So one of my favorite things, I have this fossil. It's a rugose coral, which it's from about 400 million years ago. And one of my favorite things is to bring that out to a child and say, hey, this is a 400 million year old rock. It used to be living back then. And they just, the look of shock and awe on their face. They have no concept of what 400 million years means. They just know it means a really, really long time.
Yeah, so also I'm a part of the museum volunteer group, and I reach out to kids. They come in during the weekends.
Which museum?
The Houston Museum of Natural Sciences. So when we talk about trilobites, and when show them fossils, the look on their face is priceless, because they don't really understand what deep time is, but then the marvel, and they're just amazed. So I think that's a wonderful feeling. Yeah.
It's also
and it's
extremely
not just
humbling.
kids.
Yeah.
Adults. I'll show my parents that fossil, and they still sure 400 million years ago.
Yeah, and the concept of deep time is also incredibly humbling to see. I say this not in a cynical way, but in a absolute way, how insignificant we are. Maybe it's a little cynical. I don't know.
Is there any book unrelated with geoscience that you read that makes your brain freeze and jiggle and be excited about existentialism, about anything related to philosophy, anything related to the meaning of life? Because you're studying the Earth, and sometimes you think about the things that you, Michael, you're talking about. But sometimes you also need to have the foundations about the many philosophers that they have already passed through this crisis, existential crisis. So I was thinking about any of you is reading any book unrelated to geology that is something that you really are attached to.
Not currently, but pretty much any Aldous Huxley book makes me want to go crawl into a corner, but not necessarily a bad way, just kind of digest. I think he was a revolutionary, and I think we are currently living in a time between when his ideas actually come to fruition and when they were written. So maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll be born in test tubes and put into certain biological classes that are chemically induced soon enough. Who knows?
I think there's this book by Carl Sagan called The Garden of Eden or something. So there he talks about different, like the human species as a whole, and how how different we are from monkeys or chimpanzees, and like the way he compares them, it amazes me that how by chance could we, like the human species, could evolve on a different level altogether. So that's one of the books that really blew my mind when I read it. Yeah.
I'm currently working my way through a book. I forget the author's name. He's a former president of Cornell University. He wrote Earth, A Tenant's Guide, and it's really talking about how human beings are kind of renting the Earth for just a short period of time.
I like
it's
that
an
idea.
interesting view.
Yeah, we're certainly paying the price.
Very interesting. And so I always like to ask the students about their Beauty and the Beast, or their dreams or their nightmares that they have nowadays. What is your, Elena?
Dreams and nightmares.
Yeah, that you have today, living as a student and a citizenship, a citizen here in this state, in this big city.
So, dreams for the future are, right now, becoming a professor is my long-term goal. And, I have moments where I'm like, yes, I'm going to do it. And then I have moments where I have a fallback plan of becoming a rancher on New Zealand. So, particularly bad meeting with my advisor, and I go work on that farming plan.
We need some meditation there.
Yeah. And it's a little therapeutic. It helps me get through the day, and then I get over what the issue was, and then I jump back in. And when there's success in my research, I just feel absolutely amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you need the lows to shine the highs, right? Or
Yes,
else you just live on
very
this
true.
gray flat line the rest of your lives.
Yeah. And it's like the work to get to that success
Yeah.
is so worth it when I get that success.
Yeah, very true.
What is it? Something like scary? Is something? What's
scary.
your nightmare?
My nightmare, so I run numerical computer models, and every time I get to my computer the next day, after, going to bed and then coming in the next day, I turn on my computer and I'm just like, oh please, I hope all of my data is still there.
Oh, I thought this was going to be an AI twist. I really thought you were going to start talking about artificial intelligence just now.
I mean, it would be, no, because then I wouldn't have a job.
Yeah.
The AI would say, I think I'm going to try this next in the numerical
Yeah.
model, and then I would be useless.
Yeah, when eliminating humans becomes more efficient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shaparna, what about you?
The nightmares? So my nightmare is, so as I told you that my experiments are, I run high pressure temperature experiments, and I run experiments which are 6 to 7 days long. So my only nightmare when I start putting up an experiment is a power supply off, and I'm always, fidgety and on my nerves till my experiment is down. So I think that's one of the things that really scares me even now when I'm very apprehensive while putting up an experiment. Till I take it down, I am not at rest. But then the good part is that, as Elena also said, that it's always fulfilling and a happy feeling after we see the success or results that are good. So yeah, I mean I think it's always those highs and lows going together.
Are you also dreaming to becoming a teacher or a professor?
I want to teach, yes. I absolutely love teaching. But my long-term goal is to be a science writer, into science communication. So that's where I see myself.
I see. What about you, Michael?
The Beast. Let's start with the Beast. Every time I see a 2-year-old with an iPad, I think about this dystopian future where we're all sitting in chairs and we have
of common nightmares.
IVs of food and drugs, of serotonin pumped into us, and we just have artificial reality eye sets on, and we are living in the Matrix. Certainly, I mean, if that makes people happy, is it a dystopia? I think it's still a dystopia.
Yeah.
I think that sounds kind of fun.
Yeah, you're into that?
I'm not.
I'm kind of just afraid what staring at screens has done to mass psychology and what it's done to learning and like trying to discover objective truths and people's attention spans and people just taking the easy way out because it's accessible to them instead of, going through true struggle and learning something from it. But I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm kind of afraid of. Yeah.
What about the other side of the moon? What about the dreams?
Oh boy. So, like I said earlier, I'm a first-year PhD student, so I'm really kind of just living in the moment at this point. So I'm doing it because I love science. Like, I've always wanted to do research, but I don't know, honestly, where I'm going to be in 5 years. I'm really kind of just taking it step by step and enjoying my life today.
All right, so now what do we do if we want all of your friends and acquaintances and people that you don't know but interested in geoscience, what do we do to let them know about the things that we are talking about today right now? What is your next move in the social media or in the communication or outreach?
Well, I wanna make eventually I want to make a YouTube channel, like a science communication YouTube channel, so where I'm thinking about maybe starting with just simple videos where I go around to professors in the department and just ask them like certain like deep geological or even like just general scientific questions. And I want to go to different professors that study different things and see how their responses change based on what they're used to thinking about all day.
But how do you spread the content of your videos? One thing is to create the content.
Yeah.
And another thing, maybe unrelated, is to spread the word.
Yeah, I'm really bad at social media, so maybe I can find someone that has more friends than me.
I think social media and like getting out on the radio or like Facebook. I don't know. Like those would be like, because a lot of people are on these social media now. So I think the good side could be using these to spread the word and like maybe tweet or because. So the science communication class yesterday actually talked about how a lot of people tweet about even scientific topics. So that's one of the things which could be used, to like spread the word.
I see. In fact, I read lately a paper that came out was half about geology, half about communication, and they investigated how the professionals they communicate through which medium.
Yeah.
And so many of the academia or the academic professionals, they communicate through Twitter.
Yes.
That is true. Then it goes also by region, like in the Far East, remember it was appreciated the histogram. It's Instagram. A histogram in Instagram.
We are nerds.
Pictures.
Yes.
And then it depends on a certain age you have Facebook. So there are effectively things that you have to study to decide where to hit.
So what I like to do is I like to make a website and then have the link to that website is spread through Facebook, and I encourage my friends to spread it to their friends. It goes to Twitter. I try and get it on Tumblr, things like that. So spreading the link on multiple different social media platforms, but it all leads you to the same page that is designed so that it's aesthetically pleasing and easy to read.
Yeah, I think like if I were to make videos, I'd want the content to be good enough to like make up for my social ineptness. So if I make a really good video, I could have people do the social part for me, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So that just gives me more encouragement to
Yeah.
make something awesome,
Or like you can hand me your link and I'll spread it on my network.
Yeah.
Or I can get people I don't know in China spreading it around.
I think word
right.
of mouth is always like a good way to spread,
Yeah.
And Michael, remember that in the minigeology.com, which is a YouTube channel, you can load whatever interview you have already done or you are planning to do, and we may create a new playlist for you where you load your videos. And all other listeners are very welcome to write me at minigeology@gmail.com and send an idea, if not a video already done. Actually, what I would really like to have is a short video, like 2 or 3 minutes, recorded by students that they record a few seconds of their classroom, the campus, or their home, the little room where they study. And I would like to have one from Mozambique, one from North Korea, one from Russia, one from Norway, one from Bolivia, and putting them together, just 2 or 3 minutes, and see how we all study the same topic, but in completely different ways.
Yeah. That would be interesting, like, showing the cultural diversity and how that might affect, like, people. That could be interesting.
Yeah, and not to talk about the different hierarchies that we have in our
Yes.
structures at universities, where here in the US is like very flat.
Yes.
Where the very first time I came in here and I saw a professor coming with flip-flops and shorts.
Yeah.
And the bicycle in the room was amazing, where my professor was telling me, and I am the professor, I'm the only one drinking water in here. Nobody else is allowed to eat or drink anything.
Yeah, I think that idea is really good because not only will it exemplify the differences we have, but if you do it with specifically science students, you could actually see how the
Similar,
concept that we're studying is similar, which is a testament to science and math being a universal language that benefits all. That isn't it isn't a function of nurture.
So let's launch this challenge. So listeners, create a video 2-3 minutes long where you record your class, your campus, and house and books that you're studying. And why not if you go out to the field? It would be nice to see all these people from all over the world going out to the field. The field is always the same.
Yeah. That's what unites all of us, like especially the geologists. I think it's what brought me to geology was like interest in the field area. So I think that's one of the grounds that connects many of us.
All right. Well, so this was another episode of Mini Geology Radio Show, and we are here in KPFT HD3 channel, and we had in here 3 PhD students from Rice University talking about their beasts, their nightmares, their beauties, their dreams, and then obviously they talk about the outreach program that they are babysitting right now, something that they gave life to. And we really hope to have many other students in here. Write me at minigeology@gmail.com or visit the YouTube channel that we just talked about, minigeology.com, where you can also see the archive of this interview. And if you want to know more, just Google Mini Geology and Rice University, and you will find another nice web page that talks a little bit more about this funny project that is Mini Geology. Okay, thank you very much to all of you.
Thank you for
And
having us.
Elena, Shriparna, and Michael.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thanks.
bye-bye.
Bye.